Hi Stitchy friends, my name is Barb. I go by Stitch Brat here on YouTube and also over on Instagram if you would like to follow me there. Today is Sunday, August 3rd, 2025, and this is Flosstube number 19, I believe. So today I'm mostly going to recap for you my July stitching. I have quite a few WIPs I worked on in July. I made myself a list. I wanted to include some works in progress. Those are WIPs that I haven't touched in a long time. So you might see some things you have either never seen before or haven't seen in a long time. So I bet I did, because I had a list and I was kind of making a little checklist as the month went by. I actually have quite a few things that I worked on, probably like 14 or so. And I also brought a framed piece to show you, and at the end of the video I will do the winner of the giveaway that I did from last time, which was the piece of beautiful linen from Bestitch Me in the color Paranormal. So thank you for your entries on that. I got some very funny comments and sentences using Paranormal, as you might expect. I'm coming to you again from my lovely sun porch. It's actually really nice today. It's been sweltering hot here, but the last couple of days have been much nicer, and today I think the high is going to be 80, so and it's only probably in the 70s or low 70s right now, so it's really nice out. So it's very nice on the sun porch, so hopefully we'll get a good hour in before it gets hot. Okay, so I don't have any finishes, actual finishes this month. I do have a segment finish on my Seasons project, but well, actually I'll show you that first and then I'll show you my frame piece. So no actual finishes, but I try to get one block per month done on my Seasons project. So this is a project where I'm putting together all the seasonal small patterns that Carolyn Manning has put out, and I'm arranging them. There's 4 smalls in each group of patterns, and then I'm arranging them in like a quilt block or like a quilt kind of design. So I'm going to end up stitching all of them, but they're going to be like not all the springs together. It's going to be spring, summer, fall, winter, like that. Okay, so let me just do this here. So I finished, in July, I finished the second autumn block, and let me show that to you. Here we are. It's the second autumn block, the one in the bottom row there. And I'll come in closer so you can see that a little better. So the colors in the autumn one obviously are very pretty. I think the actual name of the pattern is Leapin' Leaves or something, so it's leaf colors and so forth. So I finished that one, and then as you can see next to it, I've started the second, that's the second winter block, and that one will be done by the end of August. And here's what the whole thing looks like so far. So there'll be at least 2 more rows, and once I finish this and I see how I think it looks, like to me if it looks unfinished as a square, I may end up doing 1 more row of the designs just to make it look like a rectangle, because since I want it to look kind of like a quilt anyway, a quilt is usually a rectangle. So okay, so now I'm going to actually show you something else, an old finish. A couple people after my last video, or the last couple videos, have asked if I would show something that I have of Carolyn Manning's that's fully finished. And even though I have done a lot of her shooting star patterns, I think I've finished, well, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them. I don't have them fully finished because my thought was always that I was going to finish them into like pillows, maybe for the couch or the bed or something. Not that I would let anybody use them. Decorative pillows, we'll say that. But I don't know. I've kind of been rethinking that. So now I'm not sure where they're going to end up, but in any case, they're not fully finished. So, but what I do have that's fully finished is a framed piece. And this was the first two Carolyn Manning designs I ever stitched. And I will show that to you. So here it is. And I'm also going to use this as my, my screenshot. Okay, so let me back up a little bit and you can see it a little better. Okay, so these are actually not shooting star patterns. These are called broken star patterns. And this is a quilt type design that Carolyn designed before she started the shooting star patterns. So I just fell in love with these and I decided, I don't know, I got it in my head that I wanted to stitch two of them together on the same piece of fabric and have them framed vertically like this. And I thought these two, the colors, I don't know, I felt like suited each other for some reason. So this one up here is Thistle. And then this one is Carnival. And interestingly, Carnival has, although I think this might be actually one of the first broken stars, or maybe even the first broken star that Carolyn designed, because I think she mentioned that on social media somewhere. It's kind of had a resurgence of interest. I've been seeing this more on social media lately. And it's actually really, it's a fantastic design. I mean, it obviously goes lights into darks. So I'll bring these in a little bit closer so you can see them. The Thistle colors, I love purples and greens, especially together. And there you go. So that's what attracted me on that one. And Carnival, just the colors are just, I mean, there's some bright colors in there, but then there's some really dark colors, and it's just really an interesting pattern. And then I had this framed, actually during the pandemic, I had this framed at Hobby Lobby, and they did not have a lot of choices, but I actually really like this frame with it. So these are stitched on, I believe this is a 16 count Aida, and it's like, I think it's called light oatmeal. It's the one that has little, it has like little slubs in it, but it's the lighter variety of that. There's a darker one called Rustico, which I've stitched on too, but this is the lighter one. So there you go. So that's my fully finished Carolyn Manning for the day. I was happy to get that one off my wall. And by the way, I did not have that framed with glass. I don't know, I've been going back and forth about whether to have things framed with glass. One time I had something framed for the first time without glass, and it was due to the cost. Not of the glass, but because the piece was really big, using glass made it much heavier. And so the frame, instead of being small, had to be big enough to support a really big, it was a long dog sampler. And the cost went from like a few $100s to like $750 or something, because the size of frame that it needed. And so I decided I'm going to go without the frame on that one. And that one is still hanging in my living room. And I really, I found that I like the textural element of it framed without glass, that you can really see the texture of the stitching. And frankly, I mean, I haven't found that it gets dusty or anything. I mean, like we don't really have our windows open very often, and I don't live on a dusty road or anything like that. So I have had some other things since then framed without glass. So if you've ever thought of doing that, I mean, I think it's fine. I think it's fine either way, but I know people agonize over things like that. Okay, so, okay, my next whip to show you is, this is Strawberry Thief. And this is a pattern from Whoopie Cat on, she does designs on Etsy. And I'll put a picture of it in here. And this is one that my friend Carla, Stitch Me Sane, and I are stitching together. In fact, Carla bought me this pattern. And here's where well, let me fold it because it's hard. It's fabric, see-through. Here's where I am. So I am stitching this on a piece of Bestitch Me linen that I got in the Fabric Club. And this is called Blue Moon, and it's 32 count linen, and that is the color. It is just, it's gorgeous. It's a dark blue, but obviously has a lot of modeling in it. It's really pretty. So I'll just come in closer. I worked a bit on that, quite a bit on the bird, and I am trying to make it over to both corners on the top. So I started working toward both corners on the top. I'm not there yet, I think on either corner. So there's where I am on that. And this is all, it calls for all DMC, and I just used the called for DMC colors. That bird is really something to stitch. It's like 4 or 5 colors that are super similar in how they look, and then they're all jumbled up together, so it's super easy to make a mistake. It's a beautiful pattern though. And obviously that's, I'm sure you know, that's a William Morris textile design that's in the public domain, and that's her Whoopie Cat's interpretation of it. There are lots of other interpretations of, or adaptations, whatever you want to call it, of Strawberry Thief out there. But I really like hers. You know, since it's a textile design, you know, it's meant to be repeated across a piece of fabric or whatever. And so different adaptations focus on different parts of the design. And I like this one because I like the bird, the way it focuses on the 2 birds that face each other at the top, and then the birds that are eating the strawberries or whatever that are below it. So anyway, that's one reason I like this one so much. Okay, my next work in progress. Speaking of long dog samplers, this is Act of God, and I will go ahead and pop a picture in here of what the finished, or rendition of the finished piece will look like. Okay. And I worked quite a bit on this one this month. It probably doesn't look like it, but here's where I am. Sorry for the glare on that needle minder. That one's hard to get off, so I'm not going to take it off. It's really strong. I'll come in a little closer along the, let's see. I worked mostly in this area, so I'll come in closer on this area. Hopefully you can see that. I really love that little hen on the top of that, I don't know, roost, whatever it's supposed to be. I just love it. I love her little critters and things that are in there. So I'm stitching this on 40 count Zweigart linen, and this is one of their printed colors. It's Vintage Country Mocha, and it's actually one of my favorites. And I'm using 1 strand of this floss, which I will hold up against the linen so you can see. This is silk floss from Silks for You, and the color number is PR 181. Well, actually, I think the PR designates that it's a hank, and the color number is 181. And as you can see, it's a, you know, it's a heavily variegated floss, and it goes from it's kind of different metallic colors. I think of them as earth tone metallics. It kind of goes from like a silvery gray to copper to like almost like a mocha color, and they're all just, the colors are just beautiful. And that is always one of my most popular, I call it a fan favorite. Whenever I post on Instagram an update on that, it gets more likes and more views than anything else I ever post. I just think it's the combination of that fabric and the floss together. Just, it's like they were made in heaven, and it photographs really well too. It's not one of those weird colors, you know, that sometimes are hard to photograph. It always, that whip in particular takes a good photograph, and so it always looks really nice. I've got my trusty coffee because I always tend to, my throat gets dry when I talk more than normal. Okay, here's another Carolyn Manning. Now this one is actually a broken star, not a shooting star. This is Ribbon Candy. I'll put a picture here. And this is another one I started with Carla, Stitch Me Sane. I can't remember exactly when we started this. I think maybe at the beginning of this year or maybe last Christmas. But Ribbon Candy to me, if you know what it is a Christmas thing. So to me, this is a Christmas pattern. So here's where I am. So I have a fair amount of the first page done, probably about, that's about 3/4 of the first page. And I'll come in closer. And Carla is stitching hers on a bright red fabric, and it really looks great. So our interpretations of this are real different. And when I first, I'm using a light green 32 count Lugana, stitching 2/2. And when I first, started working on this, I kind of, I don't know, after seeing hers and how pretty it looked on the red, I started second guessing myself and thinking, well, maybe I'll start over and maybe I should have picked a brighter color fabric. But I actually really like it on the light green now that I've done a little bit more. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm okay with it. Okay. Okay. This is one of those that I mentioned. This is one of those patterns that I had not had out and touched in many, many months. And I mean, there's no real reason for that except that I just have too many whips. So, but this is called, what is it called? Platinum Jubilee. And I'll put a picture in here. And this is by Thames Path Samplers, which is a UK company. And this was obviously to commemorate Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee of being on the throne. And even though I'm not in the UK or in any place else like that, I always really liked Queen Elizabeth. I admired her a lot, and I just also loved this sampler, and I wanted to stitch it. So here's where I am. So this month I finished up that plant in the pot, or the tree in the pot, and then I started working on that. I think it's flowers, I think, below that. I'll come in a little closer so you can see those. So this is also a 32 count Lugana. This is Plum Lugana from Fiber on a Whim. And it's actually really a beautiful fabric. I mean, I think you can see it's got sort of light modeling, but the color is just amazing. And I'm using DMC 211. It probably looks white on camera, but it's not. It's pale purple. And I mean, I chose purple because being the color of royalty and all, but also I remember seeing Queen Elizabeth in, you know, how she always wore completely matching monochromatic outfits, or was known for that. And I saw her in a pale lilac one time, and it was just so striking. And so I just thought it would be perfect for that. So the reason I have not worked on that one more is I've just found that Lugana is pretty dark. I'm not sure, I mean, it doesn't show up that dark on camera, but when you're really working with it, it is pretty dark. And sometimes it's hard for me to see, so the holes. So I tend to work on it more. It's easier for me to work on during the day. Even if I have good lighting at night, it's just easier for me to work on during the day. So I just haven't had that out. And, you know, sometimes that kind of also, you think about what you want to work on, and then I think, oh, that one's hard to work on, and then I don't get it out. But actually, once you get going, I mean, it's not that bad. So I worked on it several days last month and really enjoyed it. So I need to make sure I keep that somewhere in the rotation. Okay, here's another Carolyn Manning. This is from her Shooting Star collection, which these are my favorite designs. This one is called Avocado Toast, and I'll put a picture in here. And I started this one last fall, I believe. And here's where, whoops, sorry. Here's where I am on that. I'm going to put it back here because that's really the color of the fabric. So I have a fair amount done on that. The colors in this are just so fun. I mean, greens and browns, but such interesting shades of browns in this. Tans, light to dark, just really pretty. And the fabric on this is a 32 count Lugana from a shop called My Vintage Needle Arts, I believe, on Etsy. And this is a color called Gingerbread. And if I got that shop name wrong, I'll fix it below, but I think that's what it is. I don't have it written down here. This is Gingerbread. To me, this is not really in real life the color of gingerbread, because this is more brown. And to me, I think of gingerbread as having a, I mean, I've seen other fabrics called gingerbread that I think are more like real life gingerbread, which has more of a warm cast to it. But this is, the color is absolutely perfect for that particular pattern. Okay, another Carolyn Manning. I'm sure you're not surprised. This is Peachy Keen, and I'll put a picture in here. This is from a different collection. I think this is called, this collection is the Garden Collection or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Something like that. Into the Garden or the Garden. Anyway, they're smaller patterns. They're a little bit smaller, and they have really interesting borders and lots of flowers and stuff. So here's where I am on that. And I actually worked quite a bit on that this month. I got a couple more repeats of the border done, and then I worked on the inside as well. So although this is not difficult, I mean, as you can probably tell, it's fairly fussy stitching because you have to change colors a lot. So it's not quite as, you know, it's not fast stitching. It's not as fast as stitching like a Shooting Star design, but it's just so beautiful. And I only have a couple more repeats to go before I reach the end. So I think it's like maybe where my finger is. So you can see that these patterns are not that big. In fact, I'm going to try to get another one on the other side of this fabric. So this fabric is 32 count linen from Bestitch Me. Again, I believe this is the color I got in the Fabric Club. And this color is called Into the Veil. V-A-L-E, you know, the green veil. And it's the most beautiful color of green. It's just almost indescribable. I mean, it's kind of a seafoamy color, but maybe a little, I don't know, a little deeper than that. It's really pretty. Okay. All right. Okay, my next one is, this is Fractor Flowers, and this is a pattern from La Di Da. And I should take it out of the package, but I think I'm not going to, because I have stuff in here and it'll be really hard to get back in. Hopefully you can see it. This is an older pattern, so you're probably familiar with this anyway. I actually bought this at StitchCon. It's just something I've been wanting forever, and they had it there. This is from La Di Da. And even though I think it's like from 2017 or maybe 2014 or something, I've just always loved this. And my friend Gail, GW Stitchin' Depot, also bought it, and we started it together. Although, funnily enough, both of us ended up restarting it. Gail ended up not liking her fabric that she started on, or just preferred something else. So she's restarting on a different fabric. And I made a big mistake. I immediately, I discovered, well, Gail discovered for me, I was using the wrong color of green and for one of the symbols. And because I just had it in my head that was right, I had stitched several motifs with the wrong color. And originally I was gonna just pull out what really needed to be pulled out, and some of the others could have been fudged. But in the end, I decided to just take it out and completely restart. So that's actually what I did. And I'm glad that I did. I'm glad I just restarted the whole thing. So here's where I am. That's just a hanging thread. Sorry about that. So this is on 32 count linen from Bestitch Me. And this is a piece I actually bought there at StitchCon. And this is called Not Another Sampler. And I believe that Brandy recently said this is her most popular or her best-selling neutral color. And I can see why. It's really beautiful. Okay, there's the bottom of it. So it's not a big chart. There's the bottom of the frame. So I've got that first, at least the flower outlined, and working on the leaf down there. And this calls for mostly DMCs and I think one variegated floss, which was actually a Gentle Arts color that no one, and I mean no one, has in stock. So I believe Gail did a little conversion for us and picked a Weeks Dye Works color that worked out. Love that one. Okay, let's save that one. All right, next up. Okay, here's another one I had not worked on in ages. This is, oh, and I think I have a picture of this because this is a paper pattern. If I can find the, it is. This is The Savior's Praise. This is by Shakespeare's Peddler. You're probably familiar with this. This was very popular when it came out a few years ago, and it's still popular. You know, that border is just like, wow. It's like my favorite thing about it. But also, the hymn, the words from the hymn that are in this sampler, I used to sing when I was a little kid in Catholic school. And so this kind of brings back fond memories for me. So I will definitely leave those words charted as is, because for me they're meaningful. This sampler is freaking enormous. So I'm not even sure how much I can show you, but I have the whole kind of the bones of the border done, but I don't, well, there, yeah. So the rest of what's down here is just the border, so you don't really need to see that. So I'll hold in frame what I actually have done. And I believe what I mostly worked on was along the top of the border, and then maybe down the one side of the border as well, a little bit. So I'll come in a little bit closer. I'm sure you've seen this and you know what it looks like, but this is just really fun to stitch. So I think one of the reasons I hadn't worked on this in a long time is, I mean, you can tell from this border how many color changes there are. I mean, just those little dots that are, you know, they're dark red, so you can't carry your thread. I mean, each one has to be tied off individually. I mean, there's a lot of color changes in this. And so again, I think this is one I kind of psych myself out and I think, oh, there's all those color changes. But then, you know, there's ways to make that easier to work with and stuff. So I very much enjoyed working on this, and I'm going to try to not let it languish like it did previously, because it's a beautiful design and I would like to finish it. That is being stitched on. That is Vintage Country Mocha again, but it is a 36 count linen. And I'm stitching using 2 threads over 2. And on that one is stitched with anchor floss. That is actually what Teresa charted it with. And then she, at the time, when the pattern first came out, she had thread packs. And so I just bought the anchor thread pack. And there's also a few, I believe they're Weeks Dye Works colors. They're a fancy floss, just like maybe 3 or 4 colors. But those came in the thread pack, or those came in a different thread pack, but I bought that thread pack too. Okay. Okay, this is another Carolyn Manning. This is from her stained glass collection. And this one's called Garden Glass, and I'll put a picture in here. Lots of people right now are doing the original stained glass design, which is beautiful multicolors on either a black or a dark gray background, I believe. And my friend Carla, Stitch Me Sane, is doing that one. But I just fell in love with the colors on this yellow. And here's where I am on that. The fabric on this does not look yellow, but it is a light yellow Aida, a 16 count Aida from Perman, which I believe is like also Witchelt, or they're connected somehow. Anyway, the color is called Sun Shower. So you can imagine the beautiful yellow that it is. It's hard to, I don't know, for some reason it doesn't really come across, but in person it's actually kind of bright. So I'll come in a little closer. So I like to get the outlining for each little square done first, because these squares make really great stitching if you're stitching with friends, because you can just use them like a coloring book and just fill in. You know, obviously, like on that one I have, the little square I have completed, each corner is the same color. So, you know, once you've got the color, you're good for a little bit. So it makes for easy, like, retreat stitching or stitching with friends. So, and as you can see, I'm working on the outline on that big center square. And that one actually was not on my list to work on in July, but I don't know, I had worked on it in June and I just wanted to keep going on it. So I did do a little bit on it. All right. I've got a microphone on and it's like weighing my shirt down. Okay, here's another shooting star design. This one is Grandma's Lilacs. I'll put a picture in here. This is another one I'm stitching with Carla. And yes, we do have a lot of whips we're working on together. Here's where I am on Grandma's Lilacs. I have a fair amount done on this one too. I should have more. We actually started this one quite a while ago. But again, these are my colors. I love them so much. I love the purples and the greens and the yellows. And there's little Minnie Mouse. I got her on my last trip to Disney. I got her as a pin and I made her into a needle minder. She doesn't sit very good on the fabric for some reason. I don't know, I probably didn't center the magnet very well, but that one I'm stitching on 32 count Lugana, and the color I believe is just called Lilac, and I believe that's a Zweigart Lugana. I could be wrong, but it's not a hand dyed, it's just one of their colors. Okay, yet another shooting star. Now this one, for some reason, I hadn't had out for a while, and oh, I just forgot how pretty this one was. This is Cherry Blossom. I'll put a picture in here. And obviously what attracted me on this one is the pinks. Oh, love the colors in this one. So I worked my way down to that bottom corner there. So that's how, obviously these are squares. So there's the top to bottom. And I'll come in a little closer. This is on an antique white Lugana, 32 count, I believe. I don't think it's white, I think it's antique white. But again, love the colors in this. So pretty. And usually on the shooting star designs in particular, I mean, I don't really change any of the colors that are called for unless for some reason I can't get one, which I don't think has really happened. Carolyn is a color genius. I just go with what she's got there. Okay, I'm going to save that one. Okay, here's another one that I had not worked on in a long time. And this one I have a picture of, or I actually have a thing. This is One Nation by Bygone Stitches. And this is an old pattern, an oldie but a goodie. I mean, you still see lots of people stitching this today. It's just a very popular pattern here in the United States. It's got the names of the states in the order that they entered the United States. And this thing, the thing about this is it's mammoth. I mean, it is mammoth. And probably if I started this over, I would actually have chosen, you know, a higher count fabric so it'd be smaller. I'm doing it on a 32 count cobblestone Lugana. Although in some ways I also kind of like it big because like I feel like this is a piece that should have sort of a lot of impact. All right, well that's the best I can do. I'm sorry for the see-through. There's the words, goes all the way over to here. But I mostly, as you can see, I have all the blue done and I worked on some, so this month I worked on the stars. And then I think I had just started the line of white states. I just started Georgia, and so I have continued that line because I think I worked with mostly that white. It's not actually white, it's ecru, but the white colored thread. So you can see, I mean, this thing is, well, I mean, I guess you can't really tell from this yet, but trust me, if you've ever seen this framed, this thing is huge. This is a ½ yard of fabric. And I mean, like, here's my margin. Like, I have some margin, but it's not enormous. So this is big. And this is what I mean about having one of those where when I framed that one without glass, it was big like this. And that's why I really did not realize how much of a difference it was going to make in the cost to have it framed with glass, because I would need the bigger frame, and that would be the case with this one too. So when I ever get that done, it may not be that I use glass. Okay, here's another shooting star. Oops, that goes with this. Sorry, let me just put it in there or I'll forget. This next one is Beachcomber by Carolyn Manning. I'll put a picture in here. And this one I am working toward a finish. This is my next Carolyn Manning finish. And I think it's going to be in August, because I am getting really much closer. As you can see, there's just a couple open areas toward the middle. I mean, it's always more stitching than what it looks like on these, because these are full coverage. But still, I think I can get this done in August. So I'll come in closer so you can see. I worked kind of in that whole middle section, I tend to work around the edges and then come into the middle on these designs. I don't know why, but that's what I do. Well, yes, I do know why. It's because of the page breaks. I use paper patterns and I hate the page breaks. So I tend to kind of avoid where the pattern overlaps, and I leave it toward last, which is awful. I mean, that's really stupid. I'm going to try not to do that. So this is on 32 count Lugana. This is like a light blue. And again, I think this is just all the called for DMC colors. I don't think I changed anything. Okay, we're doing good on time. One more whip. And this one, I never even got around to posting this on Instagram. I worked on it several times, and I was going to post it, and then for some reason I didn't. So I will have to post it next month. But this is Louise Lallier, and this is a Reflet de Soie pattern, and I do have the pattern here. This is what Louise looks like. And Reflet de Soie patterns have become more popular as they've become easier to get in the United States. It used to be kind of hard to find them. Not everybody carried them, and now lots of places do. These French girls, I don't know. I do not know how they did what they did. Who was teaching them this stuff, but their samplers are just amazing. And I love a good border, so that's what attracted me the most on this one, is that fantastic border. And this is another huge one. This is on a ½ yard of fabric again. And this one I am going to have trouble showing you, so I'll kind of just have to do my best, because it's... Okay, so here's the top of the sampler. And then I actually worked on this border. I'm bringing that border, those flowers down, and and I need to complete the border across the bottom so that the border is done. So that's where I worked. So I'll just come up, let me see if I can do this. so hard to show. Okay, so I'll just show you a little closer where I worked. I worked in this, I hope you can see that. I can't really tell what you can see. I worked on those last maybe 2 flowers. Those border flowers, I mean, in each flower with leaves, there's like, I don't know, like 20 colors or something. So it takes a long time to stitch one flower. So I usually have a goal of get one flower done and then maybe I put it away for a while or whatever. But anyway, I hadn't worked on Louise for a while either, and you know, she's big, so I got to keep working on her. She's not going to get done. Okay, that is my last whip. So I don't know, that was like 14 or 15 of them, so took up a good 45 minutes. Okay, so the only thing left to do is to talk about the winner from the giveaway. Last time I did my first giveaway, and I'm giving away a piece of Be Stitch Me fabric in the color Paranormal, which is kind of a wild, crazy fabric, 32 count linen, and many people left comments and entered the giveaway, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I did a random generator early this morning, and the winner is, and I'll put the name here, Elaine Schultz 9544. Elaine Schultz 9544. And Elaine, what I will do is I will comment on your comment from the last video, and I will ask you to send me your address to my email, and then I will send that fabric out to you. Okay, well, that's all I've got. Plans. So for August, I'm going to try to just do the same thing that I think worked pretty well for me for July, which was I made myself a list of whips I wanted to work on. And some of them are ones I've been working on or I work on every day, and some of them are ones I'd worked on in July and I just want to keep working on them for a while. And then I also included a few that, you know, for one reason or another I haven't worked on in a long time. So I'm going to try to keep doing that every month so that some of those more neglected whips also get some stitches in them. I tend to have too many of those, so at some point I need to go through all my whips and maybe decide if some of them I really don't want to finish. But at the moment, I can't think of any that I absolutely don't want to finish. There may be one or two that I do decide that, but that'll be sometime in the future. So anyway, so that's my plans for August. And I didn't plan a teeny topic for today because I wasn't sure how long it was going to take for me to get through all of these whips, but this is actually a pretty good length video. So I will try to film again in a month or so. I'm going to try to keep up that schedule if I can. And in the meantime, just try to slow down and enjoy. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, enjoy the rest of the summer and just slow down and take life one stitch at a time. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.